As this one was being written, I went through a whole rotation of people who still seem to be living in my mind rent free. And I think some of you are trying to forgive somebody who can still change your whole mood just by crossing your mind. You have not forgotten what they said. You have not forgotten what they did. You still feel it in your chest and you still hear it in your head. Part of you wants peace, but another part of you is still sitting there saying, how am I supposed to forgive this when it still hurts this much? And you know what? That is real. I feel that quite often, and I want to start there today because you know what? When somebody betrays you, rejects you, disrespects you, abandons you, lies to you, uses you, or lets you down when you needed them most, that does not just leave a thought behind. It leaves a wound. And it gets into your confidence. It gets into your sleep. It gets into the way you look at people, and sometimes it even gets into the way you pray. When people tell you just forgive and move on, it can feel almost insulting because you're thinking, move on to what? I'm still bleeding from it. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you know forgiveness matters because it does. And maybe you know God is calling you toward it because He always is. And maybe deep down you don't even want to stay bitter. You're just tired of hearing forgiveness talked about like it's some easy button. It's an easy button you push when your heart is still sitting in the wreckage of what happened. And real forgiveness is not shallow like that. You see, real forgiveness is not calling evil good. It is not saying the betrayal was small. It is not pretending trust should just come right back. It's not acting like the wound never happened. And it is not letting somebody keep hurting you with a Bible verse covering the damage. You'll hear people say, oh, Jesus said turn the other cheek. Show me a circumstance where Jesus was slapped down and He stayed in that town. Jesus would move on. He would forgive, but move on. Sometimes the reason people struggle to forgive is because they think forgiveness means having to deny the truth. They think it means having to act healed when they're not healed. They think it means they have to welcome back the same person with the same access after the same destruction. And that is not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is deeper than that. And in some ways, it's harder than that. You see, forgiveness is when you stop handing your peace over to the person who hurt you. It's when you tell the truth about what happened and still decide that their sin will not become the thing that poisons your whole heart for the rest of your life. It's when you look at the pain honestly and say, what you did mattered. It hurt me. It changed something in me. But I will not spend the rest of my years chained to your offense. And you know what? That is not weakness. That is strength. Because bitterness will feel powerful for a moment, and it will feel like protection. But after a while, you're going to start noticing that it's not just protecting you from them. It starts closing you off from joy. It starts hardening your spirit. It is making every new person pay for what the old person did, and that can be exhausting. You see, a bitter heart does not just remember pain. It starts living from it. And that is why forgiveness matters so much. Not because what happened was okay, but because your heart is too valuable to let somebody else's sin keep living inside of it. There are people listening to this right now, I believe, who are carrying conversations that ended a long time ago. You know, you're arguing with them in your mind still. You're still replaying the moment. You're still wishing they would finally understand what they did to you. You're still hoping they will come back with the apology that makes it all make sense. Sometimes they never do. And sometimes when we lose people in our lives, it's not always a loss. Because sometimes the apology never comes. Sometimes the explanation never comes. And sometimes the person who broke something in you goes on acting like they did nothing wrong. And that is one of the hardest parts. You're left with pain and they are left with silence. That is where forgiveness becomes deeply spiritual. Because now it's no longer about whether they deserve release from your anger. A lot of the time, it feels like they don't. Now it becomes about whether you're willing to place the whole thing into God's hands instead of trying to carry it forever by yourself. That does not happen in one dramatic moment for everybody. It hasn't always happened for me in that way. And sometimes, even for me, forgiveness is not one prayer. Sometimes it's a decision you make again and again when the hurt keeps coming back up. You may forgive today and still feel hurt tomorrow. That does not mean you failed. It means your healing has layers. And that's okay because it's human. You may release somebody in prayer and still feel the sting when their name comes up next week. That does not mean you were fake. It means the wound was real. And some of you need to hear this clearly. Forgiveness and trust? Forgiveness and trust are not the same thing. You can forgive somebody and still need distance. You can forgive somebody and still set boundaries. You can forgive somebody and still be wise. You can forgive somebody and still say, you do not get the same access to me anymore. And that is not revenge. That is stewardship. God did not ask you to become foolish in the name of being loving. What he does ask is that you stop letting pain become your identity. Because pain will talk to you if you let it. It will tell you to stay guarded. It will tell you that everybody leaves. It will tell you nobody can be trusted. And it will tell you the safest life is the smallest one. It will tell you to keep your heart closed because an open heart is a dangerous heart. But God, our God heals open things. Not fake things and not hidden things. Open things. That means you have to come to him honest. Not polished, not religious. Honest. Say to him, God, I know I need to forgive, but I'm still angry. Or, God, I am still hurt. Or, God, part of me does not want to let this go. Or, God, I need your help because this is bigger than my willpower. And that kind of prayer is real. That kind of prayer opens the door for God to do something deeper than behavior management. He starts healing the part of you that bled. And when that healing starts, forgiveness becomes less about forcing a good attitude and more about freedom. You begin to realize that letting go is not losing. It's breathing again. It's sleeping without replaying the old scene. It's getting your emotional life back. It's smiling again without feeling guilty. It's walking with God without dragging chains behind you. And the truth is, some of you have been waiting for the pain to disappear before you forgive. But sometimes, forgiveness is part of how the pain starts losing its grip. Not all at once and not magically, but truly. You stop feeding the wound with constant rehearsals of what happened. You stop building your future around one person's failure. You stop turning one chapter into the whole story of your life. And little by little, the thing that once owned your thoughts starts losing ground. And that's what God wants for you. He does not want you trapped in what they did. He does not want your heart stuck in the moment you were betrayed. He does not want your future controlled by your deepest disappointment. He wants to heal you so deeply that even though you remember what happened, it no longer has the right to rule you. So, friends, if you are still hurt, start there. Be honest about it. Stop pretending you're over something that still cuts you. Bring the real wound to God and tell the truth about it. Then make the brave decision to release the debt, even while the healing is still happening. Not because they earned it, because you need peace. Because your heart matters. Because bitterness is too expensive, and because God has more for you than carrying this forever. It's okay to say, what happened to me was real, but it will not be the thing that owns me. And when you say that, that is freedom. That is strength. And that is the beginning of peace. So today, or whenever you hear this, maybe your prayer is simple. God, I am still hurt, but I do not want to stay here. Help me forgive. Help me release this. Heal what still aches in me. Carry what I cannot carry anymore. And you know what? He will meet you there. Not in fake peace, but in real healing. You do not have to deny the wound to let God start healing it. You just have to stop worshiping the pain and start handing it over. Let him hold what hurt you. Let him deal what you cannot fix. Let him protect what is still tender in you. And let yourself walk forward lighter. Because forgiveness does not mean the whole story does not matter. It means the story does not get to be your prison anymore. And when you finally let that weight go, even with tears still in your eyes, you're going to feel something holy happen inside you. Your chest is going to loosen. Your spirit's going to breathe. Your future is going to open. And your heart's going to remember that God is still able to bring peace into places that once felt impossible. That's where healing begins. That's where freedom starts. And that is where you're going to find out that even after deep hurt, God can still make your heart whole again. My name is Douglas Vandergraph, and I believe in Jesus Christ. God bless every single one of you. Every single one.